The stories that define hip-hop culture. You're now locked in to the Terminator Xperience podcast, where hip-hop history meets the culture right now. Hosted by DJ DVS and Minor, alongside the legendary Terminator X. We're talking classic moments, untold stories, and the voices that shape the game. Straight from the source. No filters, no filler, just real conversations and real hip-hop. Turn it up. This is the Terminator Xperience podcast.
All right. Welcome to another edition of the Terminator Xperience podcast. I got my brother here, Minor, with me. Who we got today, brother Minor?
We got my brother of all brothers.
Big who?
Big Jeff, a.k.a. Big Old Hunk of Junk. Love you, Hunk of Junk.
Brother.
Love you guys, too.
So, yeah, man. So how you doing, man?
I'm blessed. God woke me up this morning.
All right. So I want to start by asking you about your life a little something, right?
You know, basically, I joined Zulu Nation, and in '95, my boy Chase and my boy Lucky Strike, who's the one that brought me into Zulu Nation, rest in peace, Lucky Strike. He was like one of the gatekeepers of Zulu Nation. Like we opened up an office on 23rd Street, and so I got really involved behind the scenes. I started throwing events. I started hosting events. Later on, I started managing. Road managing artists. I went out on the road with Kool Herc, with Africa Bambaataa, with the Jungle Brothers, with Rob Bass, with Red Alert, with Keith Murray. Like I went out on the road with a lot of different artists, from like 2000 to like 2010, Like I actually been the person that put it together, booked all the artists, paid everybody, made sure that they got on at a certain time. So I was like the host and the coordinator and the person that was the stage manager all in one. I used to do it all at the same time.
All right. Yes. So before we go on, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in a barrel of butcher knives. Shot in the butt by two Colt 45s. No, I'm just messing around. Okay. Basically, I was born in the Bronx, in May of '70, and came to Queens. My dad was offered housing about 10 minutes from where he worked, so we moved to Queens around 1973. It's called the Letchester. It's like a cooperative, but it's like really projects. All the buildings look the same. But, it was nice. The lawns were done. Everybody got along. Everybody was neighborly. Wasn't too much, drama, here and there a little bit, jump off and everything like that. And, I went to school. I was a regular kid. I was into math. I was into, music. I always, my dad and I used to watch, the Sonny and Cher show, the Jackson 5, Soul Train on Saturdays, freaking American Bandstand, Dance Fever. So I always was into music, like my dad was a big Barry White and Luther Vandross and Lionel Richie fan. And I was a fan of, the Jackson 5 and, all the Motown stuff and, all the great R&B, stuff that was going on in the 70s. So that was my start. But then I was also a huge sports head. So like in 1977, my parents took me to go see the Yankees. I fell in love with Reggie Jackson and, Ron Guidry and Willie Randolph and Goose Gossage. And so then a year later, I fell in love with the Knicks, Michael Ray Richardson. So I've always been a music, movies, and sports nut, So that's my history in the 70s.
What are your earliest memories of listening to hip hop?
Okay, that's a good question. So, as most people know, back in the 70s and the 80s, like hip hop wasn't on the radio like it is now, in 2026. So it was very sparingly. And so the very first time I remember hearing hip hop was in '79 on KTU with Paco. And he was playing, Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang and Christmas Rapping by Curtis Blow. That's my earliest memories of hearing hip hop on the radio. And I remember being out in the park and we were just like excited and like, wow, what is this? This is cool. It's different. It's not singing, but it's still talking to music.
So which MC were your favorites growing up as a teenager?
As a teenager? All right. It started out Run DMC along with Houdini and the Fat Boys. And then when I turned 16, 4 or 5 groups all came out at the same time and changed my life forever. And so it was KRS-One, it was Public Enemy, it was Eric B. and Rakim, it was Big Daddy Kane, and it was Cool G Rap. All of them came out like 86 to 88. And I just like, by the time I was 16, I was like, you know, you couldn't tell me nothing about the music. Like, I fell in love with it. Like, you know, KRS and Chuck D started talking about Black history and Harriet Tubman and, you know, Charles Drew and Malcolm X. And like, I didn't know who half these people were. And so I started to like look it up, you know, and stuff, go to the library and try to find out who these people were that Chuck D and KRS-One were talking about, because I didn't even know who they were. I was a very proud Black guy or Black man or Black teenager, whatever, but I didn't know who these people were that they were talking about. So it made me learn my history and also appreciate other history, other cultures, and everything like that. So I started to learn not just about Black people, but about Hispanics and about Asians and about white, and learn the real history, not the history that they teach us in school.
Right, tell the people now, out of all the people that have rapped in life, which will you consider your favorite album?
My favorite album?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it goes in periods, but I don't want to take too much time with each question.
Like
and so
them, you know, like 5 people.
Definitely It Takes a Nation of Millions was my favorite. Like, sonically, you know, it's just so well put together. And, you know, like, you know, Chuck is just dropping, you know, bars, and, you know, I fell in love with that. I loved Illmatic by Nas. I loved The Chronic by Dr. Dre. I loved By Any Means Necessary by KRS-One. Only Built for Cuban Links by Raekwon. You know, there's a bunch of them. Low End Theory, Tribe Called Quest. You know, I mean, there's so many, but those are amongst my favorites, you know?
Okay, all right. Let me ask you something else. Like, growing up as a kid, like what was your motivation? Like what was your thought? Like, getting to know these people? How did you come about knowing all these people? Like, when was your first love into the hip hop?
Well, honestly, Minor, I never ever thought that I would be friends with everybody in hip hop. My only thought was I'd like to meet them and shake their hand. And I remember back in 90, I want to say it was like 93, 94, Chuck happened to be at Tramps. And at the time, Tramps was the biggest venue doing hip hop events, right? And when I met Chuck D, I was just starstruck. I'm not going to lie. I was just like, all I could say to him is I shook his hand and I said, man, you just don't even know like how much you've touched my life. Like, my friends had pictures of me because I was such a Public Enemy and KRS and Rakim fan and Run DMC fan. Like, they had pictures of me. They were like pre the golden era and then after the golden era. Like, they'd have pictures and they'd be like, oh yeah, that was Jeff back in 86. That was Jeff back in 84. That was Jeff back in 88. I was such a fan of the music and everything like that. So honestly, it's like me saying to you, like, oh, I wanted to be a senator or a rocket scientist or a baseball player. Like, I never, ever, ever in my wildest dreams thought that this would happen to me, you know?
That's what's up. What was your first hip hop concert you ever went to?
Okay. So my 2 that I went to was like about a year apart. I went to the Run DMC Beastie Boy concert at Madison Square Garden. And then I went to the Long Island Nassau Coliseum. It was Run DMC, Public Enemy, EPMD, Stetsasonic, and Fresh Prince. And when Terminator X was playing, the bass was so loud. I'm 4th row center. And the bass was so loud, I couldn't breathe, right? And you know what's crazy is Terminator X played raw bass, It Takes Two. right? And all you heard was, right about now, you're listening to the sounds of DJ Easy Rock and Raw Bass. And Minor, Terminator X can tell you if I'm lying, the crowd let out a roar. I thought they were going to knock down the building. Like, everybody went, I was with 5 of my friends. I looked at my friends. I was like, yo, this song is going to be a monster. It just came out about a week or two before, and Terminator X played it. Everybody in the place, like 16,000 people, just started screaming. Like, yo, it was just unbelievable. The feeling and the euphoria of the excitement of hearing that record and everything like that. So I don't know, Terminator. Do you remember the reaction of the crowd when you dropped It Takes Two? I know you played so many concerts and stuff like that with Chuck and Flav and everybody. Like, each of them probably like kind of blend into each other.
So of course I was going to ask you, was that during, like, I guess, kind of quote unquote the middle of the show, set change type time?
That was like kind of like at the beginning of your set. I think you played a little bit of a, like, if I remember, this is going back 38 years. So 38 years. So I believe you played a little 15, 20-minute set before Chuck and Flav came out. So and you dropped that It Takes Two, and everybody went nuts.
So what that is, that's in the middle. So, I'm not a trick DJ per se. So like where you have, like, say EPMD, for example, Scratch in the middle of this show will do his trick set routine. Stand on the table and take your sneakers off, all that kind of stuff. So,
Friday the 13th. I'm gonna play Jason, take out the Jason mask and everything. I was
never, I never claimed to be. I never was a trick DJ like that. So what I would do, I would jump into party mode in the middle of the Public Enemy sets, and I would, like you said, I would rip that BITC down. I would tear it down. As a matter of fact, Chuck would get mad sometimes. He was like, ladies and gentlemen, our DJ, I'll be sure, and the girls would go, I'll be sure, and I would do a mad set playing like hot music, like the hottest records, like you said, the hottest records at the time, and people would lose their mind, and the crowd and the concert would turn to a party for whatever, however long that time was.
Man. That stuck out in my mind. Out of everything, the 2 things that stuck out in my mind was you were playing one song, and I think it was Terminator X to the Edge of Panic, and the bass was so booming. I swear to you, I couldn't breathe. Like, it was like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I was like this. I was like, holy crap. So I had to like calm myself down and everything like that. Cause like I said, I was like that. And like I said, when you played Raw Bass, like the crowd went nuts. I mean, like I said, Run DMC killed it. Their show was great. Yeah. Chuck and Flav show was great. EPMD was cool. Stetsasonic was good. And I'm honestly, Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff show was okay. The DJing part with Jazzy Jeff was incredible, but I was never really, honestly, no disrespect to them. I know Will Smith is a legend and everything. I never was a big fan of Will Smith. I liked, what was that song that they had? It's like more of a street song, I mean, they had a couple songs that were good, but that song was dope. They had one song that I really liked a lot. Summertime was cool, and I just can't think of right now what the name of the song was, but it was more
Brand New Funk.
Brand New Funk was cool, but there was another song that they played that was really good and everything like that. So, but I loved that concert. Like I said, that it was some of my all-time favorite groups. Even EPMD has always been one of my favorite groups too. So it was a great concert. I enjoyed myself. I don't know how much I paid to get in the concert. It's probably like $30-$40, but that concert now would have been $500, in 88, 2026,
Try to get into a concert these days for that kind of price. It's like,
I'm trying to go to the New Edition concert. To sit up high is $250. Just to sit up in there where you need binoculars and you can't see anything. I'm like, I'm not spending $250 to sit all the way up high, at the Barclays Center on Saturday. It's like, no, I'll stay home for that,
That's good memory. So here's a little Public Enemy Terminator X history. So that was the Run DMC tour. So the following year, so that tour, Jam Master Jay, if you remember, he came out the ceiling. His DJ booth came out the ceiling, and they had like a thing shooting out sparks underneath, like with a spaceship kind of. So I inherited. Well, I ain't inherited. We paid for it. The next year we added it to our set. We didn't have the sparks and stuff, but so the next year we took his platform, and that's how I came down. And we came back to not Madison Square Garden. We came back to Nassau Coliseum. I think the very next year, if not the very next year, the year after following, and I came up the ceiling.
If I remember correctly, X, you were about 30, 40 feet above the stage, while Chuck and Flav was like eye level and everything like that. I remember you being up high and everything like that for that Nassau Coliseum concert.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing I want to ask you. So, how did you end up doing hosting Toka Tuesdays for a very long time?
Yeah. Basically, I was like a big club head, and Tony Touch, Danny Castro, and Voodoo Ray, rest in peace. They were doing this spot called Manhattas, which was on Bowery and Bleecker, right in like the Lower East Side. And I would go every Tuesday. So for like a whole year, I was going supporting the party. It was free, good music. A few of my friends would go. Sometimes I go by myself. And Tony Touch, after seeing me there like 25 times in a row, he was like, "Yo, you ever thought about being a promoter?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've promoted before and everything like that." He goes, "Well, in 3 months, we're starting this party called Toka Tuesdays. It's going to be about 5 blocks away on First Street and First Avenue at a spot called Sutra." And I knew Sutra very well. I used to love Sutra because it was called Bar 16. And I used to go every Thursday to see Evil D and Mr. Walt. They used to kill it up back then. I'd be in the back just enjoying the vibes and the music. Like, they played a lot of great music there, hardcore stuff, and, a lot of like boom bap music and everything. So that's the kind of music that I love. And that was like mid 90s, 96, 97, 98, around that time. So Tony was like, "Yeah, you want to be a promoter?" I'm like, "All right, why not? I'm out on Tuesday. I might as well, get a little $50, $60, $70 and have a couple drinks while I'm out here." So I'm thinking like, it's 2008. I'm like, how long is this going to last? A year? So whatever. And lo and behold, it went from 2008 to 2020. Then COVID hit. And then in 2021, towards the end of 2021, we went into 2022. And then finally, Tony retired the party in late 2022.
Oh, okay. So
it's like 13, 14 years,
Okay, knowing you, we going, I could say a good 40 years that we known each other now. And people don't know this, but me and Big Jeff, we were roommates. It used to be funny. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, how come you call Big Jeff Hunk of Junk?" I say, "I don't know." I ain't gonna lie. I just gave him the name, man. He was like the biggest robot that saved the world. Like, he's such a humble person. Not because he's there, not because he's my brother, but he's always been so humble, always been there for me. And it's funny because I know people, man, maybe since I was 12, 13 years old. And it's funny to have friends that you could sometimes rely on. And I ain't gonna lie, it was times, man, when I was eating dollar soups, man, and Jeff would come up to me like, "Yo, why you eating that?" I say, "Yo, I ain't got no money. I'm being honest." Because we always, everybody here is not born with a silver spoon. And I know everybody to this day still eat dollar noodles. And Jeff will come up to me, "Nah, I got you." You know what I'm saying? So I said, "Damn, like, ever since day one, he's always had my back." So we learned to always have each other's back from the beginning, So it's funny, like, we moved from place to place. I'm not gonna say names, but it was a lot of times when we needed help, nobody was there for us. And it's funny because we was always there for everybody. And that's what hurts me the most.
The thing is, Minor, that I've learned the hard way is that, if you keep your expectations low, you won't be disappointed. And so, you and I, we had our backs up against the wall, a couple times, not just one time, but a couple times. And, people showed their true colors. And, as a born again Christian, I have to accept people and where they're at. And I just have to keep it moving. And, no hard feelings. You showed who you were. And I accepted. the reason why Terminator X Minor and I became so close is partly, of course, living together, but like I'm a people watcher, not in a, stalker type of way, but I would see Red Alert and Minor together I'd go to every event, and almost every event I was at, they were at, and it would just be the two of them, right? And like Red Alert's one of my hip hop heroes, along with, obviously Chuck and KRS and,
respect to Red Alert.
Rakim and Ralph McDaniels and Marley Marl. So I would be like, man, this guy must be really important, because Red Alert only be with him. I mean, obviously other people would come and meet at the party or the concert or the event, but it'd always be just him and Minor, right? And so I started speaking to Minor. I mean, I say hi to Red too, of course, but I didn't want to really bother Red. Me and Minor started developing a relationship, and Minor would be like, oh, Red's going to be DJing, at such and such a spot, right? And so I started going to every Red Alert party. I'd be there. I'd speak 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the city. I got to go all the way to Queens. I was living in Queens at the time. I'm like, all right, I'm not getting home till 6 in the morning, but whatever. I'm having such a good time. It's worth it. So a couple times I noticed, I'm watching, Minor's carrying 6 or 8 crates by himself. And I'm like, yo, what's going on here? Like, there's a whole bunch of people that could be helping. And like I said, I ain't naming no names, And so I asked Minor, I said, Minor, can I help you? And everything like that. And so, I started helping Minor with the crates, the records and everything. Because, nowadays everybody just has a laptop. But back then you had to carry 6 or 8, crates. And then sometimes I'd actually go back to Red Alert's house in Harlem and help them, there. Because I had moved, I think, to Manhattan at the time. I don't remember what. But whatever the case may be, I started helping Minor out all the time. And I stayed to the end and help him, and then I go home after that, And so that's how me and Minor got tight, and then we got even tighter once we lived together back in like 03, 04.
Okay, that's what's up. And I want to ask you one more thing, very important. Like, give us like a little quick 5 minutes of your history of all the trophies that I seen you receive through the years. I know you got a what is that you got from the city?
Proclamation.
Yeah, proclamation. You got that throughout.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck I did with it. I looked for it, but I've gotten an award from KRS-One, which means the world to me. It's called the Kool Herc Award. So I got me, Kool Herc, Martha Diaz, Pee Wee Dance, and one other person were the first 5 people to get a Kool Herc Award. And that was like back in like maybe 05 or 06, something like that. And then I got an award from Curtis Blow for my contributions in hip hop. I also got an award from King Uprock, who's like a legendary uprocker B-boy from Brooklyn. He's been doing this since like 50 something years ago, been dancing forever. And then I got back in 2021 or 22, I want to say 21, I went to Cool Rock Ski from the Fat Boys was doing an event honoring Brooklyn MCs and DJs, right? So I was with another friend of mine, and they had set it up for me to get this award, but it's in Brooklyn. It's honoring Brooklyn people. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, like, they're like, stay near the stage. Right. And I'm like, why do they want me to stay near the stage? Because I'm looking at the crowd. There's only like 200 people there. I'm like, I don't see anybody, that I need to really be by the stage, that's like, that I was going to get something to eat because it was like 6 o'clock at night. I was hungry. And I was like, let me go get something to eat. But they're like, no, you got to stay right here. Right. And so Ralph McDaniels looks at the proclamation and he's like, oh, this one's really special. So now I'm really thinking to myself, who is this that he's talking about, right? And so he called my name, and I'm stunned because, like I said, it's Brooklyn, and I'm not from Brooklyn. Everybody that knows my history and hip hop knows I'm not from Brooklyn. But they honored Grandmaster D, they honored Prince Markie D, they honored Jimmy Spicer, all these legendary Brooklyn cats, and a couple of other DJ Ace, who you guys are going to interview later on. They honored him as well. And so I was stunned for like 3 seconds. I was like, and then reality snapped, and I went up on the stage and accepted the proclamation. Like, so God bless Venus Mizels, may she rest in peace. She was the one that was the coordinator and the catalyst, along with Cool Rock Ski, to give me that proclamation. So respect to Cool Rock Ski, Fat Boys forever.
We gotta wrap this section up, but I want to leave us and you and the audience with this last question. What are your future plans, music-wise?
Okay. Right now, I used to, back in the late 90s, work with this Zulu queen named Queen Anita, and she had started the Disco King Mario tribute, who's one of the legendary unsung heroes of hip-hop. He was from the Bronx in the Soundview area. Bronxdale area. And he used to do a lot for, the community of Bronxdale. He put on like Bambaataa, he put on Grand Wizard Theodore and Jazzy J and a bunch of the Black Spades, and so he passed away in 94, and Anita started doing tributes to him, and then I started helping her like 97, 98, and so we're doing that again July 3rd. It's going to be at Bronx Music Hall, and so we're honoring Styles P, we're going to honor Soul Sonic Force, we're going to honor Fantastic Five, we're going to honor Lisa Lee, going to honor who else? Andre Harrell, Dragon. So we're putting that event on. That's going to be July 3rd. But I'm also planning on doing some other stuff. Like I got a 50th birthday party that I'm doing for my other best friend besides mine, Christine. She's going to turn 50 on March 29th. But March 28th, I'm going to be doing an event at Hidden Tiger. So I got Lord Finesse DJing. I have Elder Sensei performing. And so it's going to be an amazing event. So looking forward to doing that.
All right, don't forget, we got Terminator X here whenever you're ready. we got you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm working with Terminator X too, so going to try to book him for some spots out here in the New York area, because you guys are out there in North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.
All right.
We're going to wrap this up. That's another edition of the Terminator Xperience podcast. We want to thank the brother Big Jeff.
Thank you, Big Jeff.
Thank you, brother. Thank you,
Love
brother.
you,
Thank
Cat. We're gonna have part 2 with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, not a problem.
All right, respect.
All right, man. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. God bless.
God bless.
God bless.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Terminator Xperience podcast, hosted by DJ DVS, Minor, and the legendary Terminator X. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and leave a review, and tap in with us on social media for clips, updates, and behind the scenes. Until next time, keep the culture first, keep the sound heavy, and keep it locked right here.